This has been a day full of like just great information. And I'm glad because both Caroline and Dr. Pam have laid the groundwork for a lot of what I'm going to share with marketing. And not just marketing, but um, business development, as we've talked about that your writing is a business. Your book is a business. And I'm not going to disagree with anything our literary agent shared with us today, but I want to take a few things just a little further. So she said your product is your book. And I want to take that a little bit further because it's not just your book that's the product. You are the product. Okay, so I am going to talk about from that space. One of the things I really like to share is a lot about is personal branding. And as an author, it's a very personal thing. And for the most part, another thing that I share often is people buy people. So yes, you may have a great book, but at the end of the day, people often want to connect with you. Yes, they want to like you. They want to like you. They want to trust you. They want to know you. So I know that sometimes as authors, we're introverts and we kind of want to hide behind our pages and things like that. But I'm telling you, I'm imploring you, begging you, asking you to come from behind the pages and really let your audience get to know who you are. That's really important. So that's where I'm going to be coming from with talking about your branding for your business, right? Because you are a business. So I talk to a lot of authors with my company, and one of the things that I see almost not every single time, but very often, is they will tell me, "I just finished my book. Now I'm ready to start marketing." And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be rough. So, and I'm friends with them on social media, or I've gone to church with them, and I know them in some type of capacity. And I'll go, one of the first things I'll do, which I did with some of you all everyone who filled out the survey, I pretty much went on your social media. And I'm looking to see, will the average person know that this person is a writer? Okay? Because ultimately, it should never be a surprise when you write a book. So I have this one client. She's not really a client anymore, but she was so frustrated because she'd written her book and she wanted her family to support her and her friends to buy it. And you start with the people around you. And they did not have the response that she was expecting. They were a little shocked and like, are you serious? Or, it was just a shock because there was nothing about the way she presented herself, both digitally or I guess when she was meeting with people, there was nothing about it where people knew that this was coming. So first of all, let's not make it a surprise that you have a passion for writing. And we'll talk about ways where you can not make that a surprise in very creative ways. And also, as I'll go further into this, whatever you're writing about, I want you to start right now. If you haven't already thought of yourself in this way, you're an expert in that area. So you need to see yourself as an expert, not just another common mistake is you think you're an expert with your book. No, I want you to see yourself as an expert in your industry, okay? And I'll go further into that as well. So my assistant did this. I didn't know she did all this fancy stuff. Okay. So I want you to go deeper, all right? So Caroline shared a lot about, value propositions and knowing your target audience. And even before we get there, again, I'll talk to someone. I spoke at a writer's conference maybe a year ago, and going around the room and talking to the different authors. And I'm like, well, tell me why you want to write a book. And she's, everybody, I just have this story. I went through this horrible divorce. I just feel like people need to know about it. You can journal, like you can write a letter, okay? So you have to like decide, am I journaling because I just have a great story, or am I writing a book? So journaling, just because you have a great story does not mean you need to be an author, all right? So just really understand, why am I writing the book? As I think Dr. Pam mentioned this well, with the business of it, why am I writing a book? Am I writing, or am I journaling, or am I just interested in letting people hear how I got through a bad time in my life? So figure that out. And as we mentioned earlier, you have to know who your market is, who your target audience is. And going back to, again, what Caroline was sharing, once you know what problem you are solving for people, what is the problem that you are solving for people? And it doesn't have to be that deep, like Maurice. Again, just looking at a little bit of your website, on your social media. I would have to talk further with you more about your book, but I can tell you're kind of like this artsy guy and, poetry and everything. So you're probably not trying to cure world hunger with your book, right?
No.
Okay, but you are meeting a need. You are of value to a specific audience that likes those cool photos that you post, and that you travel, and that you all those things that the emotion that I pulled from your social media. Okay. And so, knowing who your audience is, who would value that. So whatever problem you're solving, it doesn't have to be that deep, but figure out what emotion that you're tapping into with your audience and who needs to feel that emotion. Okay. So what problem are you solving? So, and what is your message? So when I was talking a little bit about, you need to see yourself as an expert in your brand an expert in your industry. And that your book is shouldn't be just like a one-time thing that you were like, oh, I just want to write a book. Okay. So if you're seeing yourself as an expert and you know the industry and you're passionate about what you're writing about, what is your overall message? So I like for people to think that even if you're not going to go all the way there, thinking about, I want to start a movement. Okay. So what is it that your whole aura, your whole brand, your whole passion is standing on? So, for example, with my marketing and branding company, my thing is all about clarity and strategy. I am good at connecting the dots. I love to come into chaos and kind of pull it all together. And so I don't just leave that at 9 to 5 and I close the door. I try to live a life of clarity. So whether I am meditating, or I'm doing essential oils, or I'm working out issues in my relationship, I try to stand on, I need clarity, okay? So whatever your message is, whatever you are standing upon or communicating with your writing, with your book, with your whole brand, make that your brand. So again, when we go back to, don't let this be a surprise to your future audience, when they go to, now, if I'm saying, I'm all about clarity, I'm doing hashtag, all about strategy, all about clarity, and then you go to my social media and I'm a hot mess, and I'm all over the place, and you can't figure out who she's with and what she's doing, and there's no messaging, and I never talk about marketing, then that's confusion, right? So don't make people wonder, again, what you're about, who you are, that you're an expert in your industry. Because that, again, we're always going to go back to, do they know, like, and trust you? Okay? So, going deeper. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think we've heard a little bit about this from almost every speaker. But again, knowing who your audience is, but even when it comes to the marketing, where do they hang out? So we're going to even talk about that from a social media standpoint because, again, I have some clients that are writing or doing, it doesn't even have to be about writing. It's just, this isn't just about marketing. People always think, okay, I'm just going to put all my eggs and all my energy into Facebook or Instagram. But some of my clients, they need to be more active on LinkedIn because their target audience is on LinkedIn. So just think about where's your audience hanging out? And again, not just with social media. When we were talking about even marketing this conference, and I'm like, let's look at the bookstores. Do we need to put something out there? Do we need to talk about the bookstores or talk to the bookstores and put postcards out? What about a lot of churches have people that are writing, and have messages and things like that. So think about where's your audience hanging out with when it comes to your brand and your marketing. Also, just look at, you probably have in your mind what I do with my target audience is, I think it was Caroline that said, sometimes people are like, oh, I just want to save the world. I want the whole world to read my book. And the way to really kind of narrow down, because I also want you to think of not only where are they hanging out and what problem you're solving for your audience, but how they purchase. Are they quick purchasers? Are they, I need to sit and think about this because this is a hardcover big book that is going to cost a little bit more. Maybe they need, they need to be convinced of something else. Are they artsy? What are they and how do they purchase? But I also will find in my head what my target audience looks like. So if my target audience is a Gabrielle Union, I will cut her picture out, and that's what sits on my desk at home because I'm like, that's who I'm talking to when I post. That is the language. That is who she is, who I'm working toward and who will understand me. So my posting is normally a little bit more fun and sassy or whatever because I'm not, during the day I'm a CMO for a major global law firm. That's not who I'm marketing to with Ashley Consulting. So I have a different language when I'm marketing for my company than I do for this. So knowing your language, knowing who your avatar is, who your target audience is. And even because I know some of you are doing children's books, and I have a few clients that do things that are like children's products or services. And, ultimately that child is not buying the book, so you have to think about what type of parent would be interested in this and what issue are they having that they will want to buy this book or introduce this book to their children. So, again, thinking about that. What are they already currently reading? Who are they following? That's where I was at with that. So if I'm thinking, okay, Gabrielle Union is my target audience, I'm going to think, who is she following? Who is she listening to? What type of marketing folks is she already into? How does she consume information? Where do they purchase? A lot of my target audience, they do Audible books, So if I were to do a book, I need to do something. My target audience is busy. They're busy people. They're entrepreneurs or workpreneurs. So they're doing both. So they don't have time to read anything too long. So my book will have to be quick, short chapters, something they can put in their purse in Audible. Okay, so you're thinking through those things because that's part of your marketing, how you're presenting yourself as they share being business savvy. So walk it like you talk it. So again, your whole brand, your whole marketing is yourself. You are the product, okay? So how you show up in the world, how you show up digitally, all that links back to your book. So you don't want there to be a disconnect where people are like, he's fake, he's writing this book just to sell something. This is not who he is. You are a movement. Just say that to yourself. Think of yourself. You are a movement. So with that being said, I recommend, and not everyone has to do this, is just my personal recommendation, that your book not be an isolated event. So whether it's doing t-shirts or doing coaching or doing consultations or something to add on to that so that, again, it's part of a bigger movement. It's part of a bigger brand that you're selling. And people are more engaged with it, and you get sticky, as we call it, sticky clients, sticky customers. They don't want to leave you. They don't want to just buy the book and never see you again. They want more to this, more to who you are, right? And it kind of goes also in line with when we think about the brands of, Apple, for example. We love Apple, but we also hate them because they pull us in. They have mastered creating sticky customers because once you get in, you're just tied in, right? You love the pictures. You got to get the laptop. You got the phone. You driving around with a little Apple on your window. All of this stuff. And so you are thinking of yourself as Dr. Van Plant, as a business. And how can I make myself sticky? I love the example of, the little tattoos for the children, but, tying in, it's bigger than a book. It's not an isolated event. I already mentioned this, and we talked about this, I haven't looked at any of my notes. Okay, know your overall message and live it. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, okay. And I know this is a catchphrase nowadays, but it is real. You really have to know your why. So if we were to just go around the room and just ask, why did you decide to write this book? Know your why, because again, when you have that opportunity, when you have to tell someone in a very concise way, what are you going to say? And again, we're not buying the book, we're buying you. I want to be engaged with you. So emotional marketing is real. Tap into that emotion. And when you know who your target audience is, and when you know what you bring to the table, what your value is, you know which emotion that you're tapping into. Okay? So, yes. And again, I kind of hate to say this, but it's true. Because I don't want you guys to make this harder than it needs to be. So, the emotion doesn't have to be that deep. Okay? My target audience is not that deep. So, me posting cute pictures on Friday nights ties in my target audience because they're not that deep. They just want to be, have someone that knows marketing really well that they can relate to and is also busy and fun and, whatever. So I tap into those emotions. So really just don't make it too hard. I have clients that sit for hours trying to think of the right post and the right social media, the right hashtags. Be authentic and know who your audience is. Okay? So don't make that deep, but know your why. Know your why.
Can I toss something out
Yes.
quickly? Often you are your own target audience. So if it's something that you would enjoy, then
Yes.
it's probably something that your target audience would enjoy too.
Yeah. Very true. All right, so is everyone on social media actively? Yes, I looked at yours as well. I didn't think yours was, because I was with Pam. I was like, oh, hers is that. Because your last two posts, you had a lot of engagement. Oh, what was the baby?
Yeah, it was the baby. That's what
And then I saw a couple, maybe a video or two.
Yeah, it is long.
Yes, I didn't notice it was a long time, but you just had the baby, so whatever. And then I saw yours. I had to look for a while, but I did find something about the book eventually, but it didn't pop right out. I had to search for it. So, so the rest of you didn't. Are you guys on social media? Are you actively on social media? I saw yours. Would I be surprised that you've written a book or that you're interested in writing if I went to your social media? Okay. Would I be surprised? Would I know immediately what industry or what topic that you're tied to if I went to your social media? I should know that. I should be able to see you already as, again, that book should be an aha moment. Like, of course they wrote a book. they have all this knowledge. They know this topic inside and out. So social media is important. And I'm not saying that you have to be on it constantly and just sharing all kinds of crazy information, but if nothing else, social media is a powerful search engine. So if someone is Googling you, which I suggest everybody in this room should Google yourself regularly, because you want to see what your story is, your digital story is. What if someone was Googling you, what does the world say you are, on digitally? Yes.
And I think that it will blow your mind because
Yes.
literally last night I went in and I teach online. And so I was a little late on checking some of my students' responses to me. And so I came across the students' post and it was like, wow. I said, wow. I got a response from a student saying, wow. And so I pulled it up and he was letting me know that he had just started my class and actually his sister was ill and had just had a heart attack and was in the hospital. And so he said he was sitting there waiting on her to go to getting testing and different things of that nature. He said, well, I know I'm in this class, I just started this class, I need to get ready. And so he was thinking, I wonder if my professor would understand, what I'm going through.
Oh, so you were reading this?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is what he's writing. He said, I wonder if my professor would understand what I'm going through and this situation that I'm in. So we could just Google her and see what type of person she would be. So I'm like, this is the age that we're in.
Yes.
People Google you to see
Yeah.
what type of person you are.
Yeah.
And so he said, as soon as I Googled you and found your website and looked at your social media, I was like, wow, she's great. She's terrific. She's awesome. She's
Yeah.
great. I really follow all of this. But it helped him to connect to me
Exactly.
in such a way that he knew that I would still understand the situation in which he was in. And of course, still give him some leniency.
Right.
on the other side.
Right. So yeah, so social media is important. It's an awesome search engine. It's a way for people to get to know, create the story. Because what happens in PR, because of course I have to do PR and media relations. What happens in PR, we see this all the time in news. When you don't give people a story or a narrative, they create their own. It's just the way our brains work. We have to have a story. So give people a story. So again, with my marketing and branding, all of us have a brand, whether you worked on it or not. When you walked in this room, you were starting a brand, a narrative. I just say, control it. That's all I say. Every one of us has one. So if you know you have one, then you need to control it. So social media is important. Don't try to be on everything. I know the pressure is, as I mentioned, if you know your target audience, you know the value you bring, choose one or two and just master it. Okay? When I say master it, you know how the ads work, you know the algorithms, you know how to read your analytics. I think I mentioned hashtags, you know the best timing to post and not to post, it's just what works. Just generally, I want to say if you're not, I don't know if I have this as a bullet point, but generally, if you're not doing video, you're missing out because it's working. This is the age that we live in. So please.
What it said, 70% of interactions on social media is usually video.
I don't know if that's it, but it's
high.
high. It's very high.
Which platform?
I'm sorry.
Which platform is primarily for video? Facebook and Instagram, or?
Yeah, but I would do all of them. And I would say if you are, depending on your genre, but you should have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You should have a YouTube channel. Because it's not just about you just finishing the book and like expecting people to buy it. Have times where you're talking, start from, I am an expert in this. Relationships, children, mental health. Therefore, you're going to do podcasts, you're going to do videos, you're going to blog about it, you're going to write about it, you're going to have a website with your own name, .com, not squarespace.com, but .com, okay? So, digitally, you want to show up with excellence, and you want to appear because you are an expert in your area, okay? And just, yeah, don't try to be on everything. And don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Don't be afraid to use scheduling tools for your social media, such as Buffer or Hootsuite. Buffer is my favorite one. And then just even be consistent with your social media. So when I say consistent, even if you're not gonna do it all the time, consistency in your topics. I think I was looking at yours. So, so I will post some personal things, but even with my personal things, I'm very strategic. I keep it within a certain type of personal things. So I may post about my family and friends if I'm out with them, because that lends to my brand, because people want to know that I'm out, I'm networking, I'm doing things. So I will tie that in with my family and friends. You can't tell right now because I've gained some weight, but I'm very into fitness. And I will post me working out, but that lends to the emotion of my target audience, because my target audience, that drives them, okay? And so I will post that, and I'm spiritual, so I post about my faith, and then all the rest of it is marketing. So whatever those topics are that you're like, my target audience would be interested, this is gonna touch them. I have opinions about politics, but I don't post about it. I see recipes that I like, I'm not posting. It does nothing for my brand. I see funny videos and jokes, I'm not sharing them. Don't ask me to. Don't send me those things, I'm not doing it. Because it just doesn't lend itself to me, and it dilutes my brand to just post about different things all the time. So I keep it pretty focused.
Have a personal page or stuff like that.
I do it on my
So
personal.
I'm saying, if you want to do stuff like that, post it on your personal page, not your public.
My personal page is also I consider myself an entity.
Oh.
So Oprah doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't separate, well, Owen is over here, but I'm gonna do what Oprah would do over here.
Yeah.
You know, I consider myself an entity, so I don't, on my personal or on my business.
I got a question. So, and then maybe two questions, depends on your answer. So when you're saying set up social media marketing, are you doing it for that book/project or you as a writer?
You as a writer and an expert in your industry. So just for example, what are you writing about? Are you going to tell me? Okay. So you don't have to talk about so much about the writing right now, depending on what stage you're in. But again, like I have someone who I think wants to hire me or whatever, and he says he wants to write a book on education, something about education and curriculum and teachers or something like that. And I'm friends with him on social media. He's never said anything about anything like that before. And I'm just like, first of all, what do you do for a living? It's just like, so that's confusion to me. So if you know that it's coming up, I'm like, you need to start sharing that you have a passion for education, that you have a passion for youth. Let me see you at a game, let me see you at a conference, something. So that's what I mean. So even if you're not gonna be writing, talk about the writing, talk about your expertise in that area.
So my follow-up question is, so what if you are doing more than one thing? You just try to tie it all together? Like if somebody is, want to write children educational books, but at the same time they want to do sci-fi. So how would do you have two separate or tie all?
So you're not gonna like my answer on this, and you can get other suggestions. Unless you have a very established brand, I would start with one focus area. And yeah, so.
This is what pen names are for.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that, but yeah.
You
What is
explain
a
what
pen
goal
name?
is?
So a pen name is basically where you create,
I'm sorry, I know what it is.
I don't, a pen name is where you create a personality for, as you, in doing a different genre. So there are authors, one of whom in particular that I'm very well aware of, Nora Roberts, writes romance novels, but she also writes as J.D. Robb, and she does criminal romance novels. So, but they're not the same, and she's not with the same publishing company for either one of them. And she has, you know, like, I don't know, she's probably published 130 books at this point total. So, but you can, if you're interested in going into a different genre, you can, if you want to do a pen name, but I would say establish yourself in one first, if you don't want to do a pen name. But you could always just create an author page that's like your first two initials and your last name as an author, or do you for your children's books or what have you. Does
So
that
would
make
you
sense?
go all the way in on social media as under your pen name? Like, would you totally create another whole?
If that, you know, if you're,
If you don't.
Yeah.
So content is king. So I know you guys have probably heard that, and engagement is queen. So with social media, content,
Engagement.
engagement
Yeah.
is hard. But so again, knowing your target audience, knowing what value you bring, your language, what you're talking to, who you're talking to in your messaging, you should be creating content regularly, whether it's through your social media, or we're gonna talk about, I think on the next slide, hopefully you guys are all building a mailing list. So emails are gold, because you can have 5,000 followers on social media, and if Facebook died tomorrow, those people are gone, okay? So you want to, we'll talk about this in the next slide, but transfer people, get people to come over to your mailing list so you can talk directly to them, sell to them, do other things with them. So, but in the meantime, I want you guys to start focusing on creating good content and getting people to engage with you. So, it's not, you have to test it and figure out what people like. But again, looking at your analytics. So if you go look at your Instagram analytics and seeing which pictures people were most engaged with or liked the most, and you kind of get an idea of what people are liking. The same thing on Facebook. But content doesn't need to be that hard. So because we're all busy, I'm not saying do blogs every day or every week. Video is good and doesn't take up as much time. Podcasts are good, but sometimes content is just doing an FAQ. You know, what are the top 5 questions that people have about children, and, or what is, example, what are the top 5 things people are doing for their kids on the President's Day break? Did you know that is the most visited time at Disney World? I had no idea. But anyway, so, but like that's content that has nothing, because you don't have to sell all the time. Please don't sell all the time. Don't always be selling your book. But that's content that is like subconsciously telling your audience, wow, she's really engaged in kids. She knows children. Like I can trust her that whatever she's writing about, her best interest is of valuing kids and things like that. So you're sharing that, and it doesn't have to be always something you create, but you may be reading, hopefully you have your favorite blogs, your favorite magazines and things that you're getting content from, and you can occasionally just share that content. The only thing that I ask that you do is don't share. We see this all the time. Don't share without your own commentary. Because, you know, some people share things. First of all, the algorithms drop. And then secondly, give us context. You know, just say, this is a really powerful article, really love point number 3. Doesn't have to be deep, but just give people a context. So there are a lot, I think I have, it's like top 50 or top 75 or 100 ideas for content for your social media and for your blogs and things like that. So if you email me, I can send that over to you. And again, engagement, this was your issue, or I think it was your issue. Don't post on Instagram without hashtags. Please, don't do it. It's just, they give it to you for a reason. It helps with engagement. I can give you I think I did a video on hashtags because I'm addicted to them. But don't not use hashtags. Facebook, they don't work as well, but Instagram and Twitter, you gotta use them.
That hashtag piece can actually be a question. Sometimes people will post and then they'll come back and do a secondary comment. Is that the best way to kind of do that? or-
I think there's different thoughts on that. I think I've heard that it is, but I don't do that.
You just do it directly.
Yes. You always want to create curiosity, so you don't, even with your content, you don't want to give everything away that you're talking about. You want to direct them, give people a call to action. So if that's like, click here, or go to my website to finish reading it, or listen to my blog, sign up with mine, create a, if you're gonna end up doing consultations or consulting or something like that, click here for my schedule, those kind of things. But you want to just, it's a relationship, right? So you don't meet someone tonight and then want to get married, in the morning. There's, right, as I was saying, I was like, well, maybe, but hopefully there's a journey to it. So same thing with your book, with your brand, there's a journey. So you want to create curiosity, make people want to engage more with you. Remember, stop selling. Don't sell. I mean, there are times when you're going to do some direct selling, but just add value. Add value. Make people's lives better in some kind of way, whether it's just feeling good, happy, knowledge, whatever. Add value. As I mentioned, I didn't talk about videos here, so we're not going to talk about that because I'm going to talk about emails. So you want to build that mailing list. And there's different ways. It takes time, but there's different ways to do it. If you haven't started, there's something I wanted to share with the social media real quick. I'm occasionally, and I do have my top 10 favorite technology things, free platforms. So if you email me that, I will give you that as well. But one of my top, I don't even know what's on my list, but it is one of my top favorite ones. But on Instagram, love Instagram, but Instagram is limited because you can't add URLs and links. But my favorite tool is Linktree, LINK.TREE. And so you can put that link in your bio, and then when they click on there, you can put all your links to everything, website, your book, your scheduling link, whatever. So Linktree is a good way. So I always say, click on my bio to find more information because that's always going to be true. So emails, build your email list. So lots of different ways to do that. Again, content is king. So you want to first, again, just add value and give people a reason to be on your mailing list because they know that they're going to get good content from you. They're going to have get good information. So whenever you do an event or go anywhere, you're sitting here, and these are people that you should want to keep in contact with, or ask Dr. Pam, can you send me everyone's email address so you guys can keep in contact. Actually, there's a trick on LinkedIn that I may show you guys later. Like if everybody's on LinkedIn, there's a way that you can connect everybody in the room in one quick swoop. But and everybody just has to turn that feature on, and then all of a sudden it all says you guys are all connected, But and while we're talking about LinkedIn, I know my time is running out. As we're talking about LinkedIn may not be your target audience or may not be the best for you, but the thing I love about LinkedIn is every tool has its great things about it. What I love about LinkedIn is you can export, like you should be on LinkedIn and active. Okay. When you can export that list and you have everybody's email addresses. So that's why I like LinkedIn. But anyway, you have sign up lists create those forms on your website. You should have a website. When you go to events online or offline, I love webinars. I use Zoom for my webinars because you can also force people to give you their email address and you have it, So you want to create reasons for people to contact you, like I just did. I said, hey, don't you guys want my top 10 list? Well, give me your email address. So, you kind of lure people into it. And then just start with your network. Who are those people that need to be on your mailing list? I'm not afraid of just posting that message on my Facebook or whatever. Hey, building my email list. I have great marketing tips for you guys. If you want to sign up, click here. So, and again, add value. You gotta have a reason. Don't get people's email list and then send them junk every week. Like, don't do that. So, how much time do I have?
5 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, networking, host your own event. Like, don't wait to find an event or be invited to speak or whatever. Don't be afraid to host your own event. Find places to guest blog that helps with your marketing and your branding. Do giveaways. I think they talked about that. And giveaways with your book. A couple other things I want to share real quick. When I talk about you are your brand, you are the product, everyone should work on having an awesome brand bio, okay? So your brand bio needs to be on your website, on your Facebook or whatever, that really summarizes not just about your book, but again, who you are as a brand. Because I want you to work on that, just as you're developing and beginning your marketing. I thought I had something else, but it's escaped me. Yes.
I have one question.
Okay.
So you talked a lot about social media and building your brand, and you even made some comments about, some people's, pages who you visit it. So my question is, if you're not active on social media, if your social media is not brand target, how do you suggest that we all reintroduce ourselves to social media?
So do you have an account already? But you're just not doing much to
I'm
it.
not doing that.
So one of the ways that for my clients that I like to reintroduce, that's a good word, reintroduce them, is get a professional photo shoot and post the pics. Because when people see that, they're like, whoa, she up to something. She's up to something. Something is about to switch. And so you do that, and you change the header on your Facebook, for example, something created. It's not something you downloaded off of Google, but it's something intentional about who you are and what your brand is. And you just start. But the trick, that professional photo trick, is always a good way to alert people there's been a switch. Yeah. Anything else?
A quick question about engagement. So how do you, I know you talked about scheduling tools, but what is the best way to kind of build that engagement? Like going back and responding, people respond to you, things like that, or?
So really quickly, engagement is, like I said, hard. So we already talked about content. So first of all, you just gotta work on great content. But let's say you have great content, you gotta know the best times to post, and for your audience and for the tool that you're using, okay? And then when people comment on your posts, you need to like it, and you need to comment with at least more than 4 words. And yeah, I do that, but I know I shouldn't. I try to mix it up a little bit so people don't realize I said, "Oh, thank you, you're so sweet," on every single one. So, but it's looking for engagement on both ends. And we talked about video. Video is awesome for engagements, not just a video that you did and you post, but live video. So you guys can have a Q&A about whatever it is you're an expert at, or just talk about, like, there's no way I would leave this conference without doing a live video here, because you want to talk about jump starting your brand. Had so much fun at this writers conference, can't wait to get started. And it's just like, whoa, what is she doing? What is she up to? So you create curiosity. Okay, but you're talking about engagement. Yes. So, but yeah, those are some of the ways that there was something else I was going to share about engagement, but those are some quick ways. And don't hashtags, like I said, with Instagram, because you weren't using those. And then don't be afraid to like if you have a favorite person, like somebody I saw liked her picture. Was it Vicky Urban liked her picture? She did, and she has a huge following. So I was like, okay, well, she must have a following. So like resharing someone with a huge following, their pictures, and saying a repost by Vicky Urban, and it kind of picks up some of her following, and so people kind of like, oh, okay, you know. So those are some other tricks.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
On social media, sometimes you write a story, and of course, a lot of people respond to it. So you find out that the comments they are passing, people give different interpretations to it. And oftentimes they are arguing among themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great engagement.
And I always very reticent to contribute. I want to keep quiet.
That's good.
And oftentimes they even ask questions, and I just don't want to say anything. I just want to leave it to.
Yeah.
But I debate that in my mind whether it's right or wrong.
I probably would not get involved in their engagement in talking about it, but if it is a topic that is kind of at the core of your brand or your book, I would let it sit for a minute, and then I would do a live video, and I would talk about the topic. And clarify, like, is it something like morally, like, can you give me an example of what the topic is? Or we can talk about it offline.
Yeah, sometimes there's a debate on the topic you're writing about.
Right.
And you can actually figure out that the question, what they're talking about, also is very relevant. It brings a different dimension into it. So you feel, even though the person that is starting it is going on a very wrong tangential, but you think if you stop, you're not going to be able to
I wouldn't stop.
get
Yeah.
what other people, what they feel about it, because,
Yeah. But that's a good problem to have. And then secondly, I would clarify it in a different post. I wouldn't get involved in that post. But if you feel passionate about like just saying, hey, you guys, thank you so much for all of the comments on yesterday's post. One of the reasons I wrote this was, and then you can kind of softly clarify it without chastising someone in the comments, or embarrassing someone. Just softly do it in a live video. You'll get a lot of engagement with that as well. Yeah. Okay, I know we have another speaker, but I will be around for a little while so we can talk about more social media stuff. But please share each other's social media and be active, please.
One last speaker before we go to break and start our mastermind.
No, you're sorry.